My Dragster 2024 Part 2 video was going to be focused on sharing with you how I think this bike would be around 300 feet or so. But everything changed, including this script, when someone else sent me 3 even closer drone shots of the construction site for Dragster. Now note, this is a different person from the drone shots on my last video. And as you can see, this footer is enormous. And after pulling nearly exact measurements of this footer, I think it's safe to say that this bike is going to light up the sky, and there's a very good chance that this thing could be much taller than we all had originally thought. With the help of some friends who also happen to have degrees in engineering, we were able to calculate the max height that this bike could go. So not only will you learn about that, I'm also going to give you my updated predictions as to how tall this bike will be when it opens in 2024. I'm also going to share with you my thoughts on where the entrance and queue line could be located, as well as the station. And lastly, are we looking at a twisted vertical spike or just a vertical spike? But let's talk about the sheer size of this footer. Because we pulled some measurements, and it appears that the back side of the footer, which is closest to Iron Dragon, is over 90 feet long, and the remaining 2 sides that form the triangle are roughly 42 feet in length. In other words, this footer is absolutely huge. Which leads me to this question: why such a large footer if you're not trying to at least go after the record or make this vertical spike be over 400 feet? Yes, at this point in time, and knowing what we know today, I really do think that the spike could very well be over 400 feet tall. Could it be taller than that? Could it go 500 feet? You're going to hear my thoughts about that in just a quick minute, but first, I want to show you something very interesting. And another reason why I do predict that this is going to be an Intamin project 100%. When you compare the shape of the footer to, let's say, Pantheon, as well as China's Soaring with Dragon, which both of those Intamin coasters offer the vertical spike, you'll see a support structure that's in the shape of a triangle. And again, matching perfectly with this giant footer in the middle of the Cedar Point pond by Iron Dragon. And when I zoom in on Pantheon's footer, it's not even that large, and that vertical spike is over 180 feet tall. Now, a few things to consider, and I just mentioned this in my video that I released earlier today about this project, and you definitely want to watch that video because I share with you a new launch theory that I could very well see happening and would really improve capacity on this new roller coaster. So just by looking at this footer, how tall do you think the spike's going to be? Be sure to let me know your predictions in the comments below. Also, regarding these images, they were randomly sent to me through an anonymous person. I wanted to share with you guys just how huge this footer really is. But back to the height record. Could Cedar Point really build the first 500 foot tall coaster? Now I know that Falcon's Flight is going to be opening up at Six Flags Qiddiya, I believe in 2024. But again, even though construction's already started, I'm not entirely sold on this coaster ever opening. I don't know, maybe it's a gut feeling or I just don't feel as if it's actually going to open. Maybe I'm the only one who has that thought, I do not know. But based on the area of this footer, which is over 500 square feet, and assuming that the entire area was filled with concrete and dug down twice the depth of the width of the footer for a vertical pole encasement while supporting a wind load of 15 PSF, in other words, loads up to 86 mile-an-hour winds, this area could support a vertical pole, in other words, a structure up to 541 feet tall. Now obviously this height is based on speculation of the footer depth, the soil type, the wind load requirement or load specifications, and a few other things. But again, this is based on what we know and what we can assume at this point. And to give you a sheer size of how large this footer really is, do you see the ladder that is leaning up against the side of the footer? That ladder is a good 15 to 20 feet tall and around 2 feet wide. Just to give you a size example of how deep this thing is and how tall it is. And the main reason why I predict that the spike's going to be over 400 feet tall at this point is why else have this large of a footer if you're not planning on going higher. So Cedar Point could be the first park in the world to break the 200 foot, 300 foot, 400 foot, and 500 foot tall barrier when it comes to the height of a roller coaster. And what's better than that is Dragster, which opened in 2003, stands at a height of 420 feet tall, could very well be reimagined into a roller coaster that breaks the 500-foot tall barrier. While I do think 500 feet is doable, knowing what we know now, I do have to pump my brakes a little bit because not only would that be crazy, it would also be very expensive for Cedar Fair to do this. I am actually more confident that the spike will be taller than Kingda Ka than go over 500 feet. And Kingda Ka features a height of 456 feet tall. So if I was a betting man, I would say anywhere between 460 and 475 is my sweet spot for this prediction. Again, I could be way off, but I have been pretty lucky so far regarding my predictions on Dragster because most of them have been right so far. Which leads me to this. When Dragster reopens with a spike, let's say over 400 feet tall, will this coaster be considered one of the world's best? Because not only are you going to add a vertical spike, but you're also going to have the top hat, and I would imagine that the new coaster would travel over the top hat a little faster than what it did when the ride was in operation beforehand. Now, as enthusiasts, we are all different and we all like different things. But for me, just knowing about the spike as well as the top hat and everything Dragster is, it's going to be up there in my top 10 just because of the sheer height, the speed, and the adrenaline that you get from this ride. But let's talk about the placement of everything because I really feel as if everything regarding Dragster is going to be changed, including where you enter and exit the attraction. Starting off, will the attraction's photo booth stay or go? And up to this point, I've always said it's going to get removed to make way for the spike. Well, now that we know the spike's a lot larger and it's pushed back even further, I think the photo booth is going to stay and get repurposed into the entrance for the coaster as well as the fast lane entrance. Just like Kings Island did with Firehawk's photo booth when they converted that building into Orion's entrance. But as you are examining the area around Dragster, there's really not a whole lot of area for the queue line in this location. So I am curious to see what Cedar Point's plan for this, but I do wonder if they're able to route the queue line underneath Iron Dragon somehow. Basically, as you see here on my mock draft of this area, where I think the queue line and exit and fast lane could be located. And as you can see, the station would be located here as well, which would eliminate any queue line in the center of the ride itself. Which leads me to another question. Would Cedar Point dare to extend the layout on the other side of the top hat? Maybe that's a future video, maybe not. You let me know in the comments below. Now, before I share with you whether I think the vertical spike will be twisted or not twisted, if you are looking for some comfortable coaster merch to wear at the parks, then you have to check out my online store. And right now you get 20% off everything, and there's only a few days left on that promotion, so be sure to take advantage of that. And you can find the link to my store in the description of this video. Ever since first predicting the spike back in September of 2022, I've always said it's going to be a twisted spike. But could the spike actually just be a vertical spike and feature straight track that goes up 300, 400, or maybe 500 feet? I personally think the twisted spike would make more sense because it adds a creativity to it and it kind of changes up everything. But I do feel as if that's a lot more support, which would also ramp up the cost on the overall project. And there is nothing wrong with the straight vertical spike. But I predict that Dragster 2.0 will feature a twisted vertical spike. And we know from Busch Gardens Williamsburg's leaked blueprints of their canceled Intamin shuttle coaster that Intamin could build a damn good looking twisted spike. Now I have one more question for you. Did you enjoy this video? If you did, please give it a like. Also, if you're planning a trip to Cedar Point, then you have to check out my Cedar Point Insider's Guide, where you will learn everything you need to know about the park, including ways to save money, save time, when the best times to visit are, and so much more. And you can find the link to that video in this video's description. With that being said, I want to know what your thoughts and predictions regarding Dragster are now after you've seen the size of this footer. Be sure to let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.